Greetings, this is Artie from Artifact Electronics, and this is part 4 of the Instant Atari Pinball collection, and I have some more progress to show you. So we're looking at a Middle Earth that is now up and running. Came out pretty nicely. I left the glass off so we can have a gander at the playfield. The playfield on this one cleaned up pretty nicely. It's got a nice back glass but no defects on it. This one took a little while to clean up because I guess this one was stored without a playfield glass for months, years, I don't know how long. And it was really dirty, but it cleaned up nicely. Maybe the dirt actually acted as a protectant. And things clean up, no major problems. This one did require a lot of mechanical work. So let's have a look inside the machine and I'll go over the kind of stuff that I had to do to get her running again. But first, remember how on the Space Riders, how washed out the back glasses look on video because I bumped up the wattage of the bulbs in there? And somebody, I believe it was one of my viewers, George Mays, suggested, why don't you put a dimmer onto the bulbs in the back glass or in the back box and then adjust it so you'll have less reflectivity once the playfield glass is in. Why didn't I think of that? But it was worth a try. So now I just temporarily hooked up a dimmer to the back glass, and so now you can turn it off and bring it up. I mean, there's certain positions where it flickers, but there's enough clean positions in between so that you can play around with this. I'll probably mount this in the coin box, so when you open the coin box you can just adjust the brightness of the back glass and get the best playing experience. So the inside, at least the bottom of it, looks identical to the other machines I've showed you because the boards are mounted, it's the same, the identical boards. The only difference is, of course, there are different ROMs on here, but there's the CPU board, the auxiliary driver board, and of course the transformer assembly. Now, where the changes come in is with all of the toys on the playfield, so that will obviously look different. And let's have a look at a few of the things that needed attention here. Most of the attention, these we are looking at the upper flipper assemblies here, and the difficulty was the flippers were misadjusted, they were pointing up, and it looked like a simple task to fix them because here's the flipper crank and it is attached to shaft of the flipper poking through here with 2 set screws over here. So you align the flipper correctly and then you tighten the set screws and you're done, right? Well, the problem here was that 40 or so years ago when this machine was built, they put Loctite, or a thread locker, essentially blue tinted glue on the set screws with the expectations that, you know, this is a harsh environment with the flippers going up and down, so let's lock these screws into place so they don't loosen and the flippers get out of alignment. Probably worked well in the beginning. But then what happened was I couldn't get those set screws out. They were I mean, it looks simple enough. You put an Allen wrench in them and turn them in the right direction, but nope, they did not want to come out. And it turns out that I guess after all these years, the thread locker had petrified, turned into super glue. And on 3 of the flippers, let's see, there's number 1, number 2 with the orange coil. And then of course we have the lower ones, again with the orange coils there. And there, that one has kind of lost the paper wrapping on the coil, but it's still good. And I was able to get the set screws out on all the other ones and adjust them. And also the flipper shafts have impressions from where the thread screws, where the set screws were in, and you know, the shafts didn't want to stay in the same place. Anyway, I got 3 of them running, but this one, the set screws wouldn't come out. I mean, no matter what I did, they just wouldn't come out. So I had to end up having to cut the flipper shaft, you know, from under here to get the whole assembly out, get the crank out, and then try to remove the set screws, clean out the thread locker, get new set screws, and, you know, be on my way. So here's the crank I removed. See all the marks on here from using a Dremel tool to cut off the shaft that fit through here. And I was able to remove this set screw with a lot of difficulty, but it came out. But I wasn't as lucky on the other side. Essentially, I destroyed the set screw on it because the glue holding it in place just was unmovable. I tried heat, acetone, you name it. And then I started cutting slots into the set screw to use a screwdriver to get it out, and that's basically when I destroyed it. However, I was able to locate another crank, which is, no, wrong one, which is the one I showed you. And let's get this into the picture properly, which is right in the middle there. And after a trip to the local nuts and bolts store, I got replacement set screws for it, cleaned out the threads so any trace of thread locker was gone. And after that it was pretty simple because it worked just as designed. You put the shaft in, you hand tighten the screws, you adjust it, align the flippers, and then you just tighten the screws. And it's been working very well. Another common problem on this machine were the leaf switches that are used to detect, you know, ball contact with something. The leaf switches, like on the Space Riders, look like this, except what you're looking at is a normally closed contact. So, you know, this one, when the ball hits it, opens up. So just imagine there's one that closes like this when the ball hits it and then opens up again. On this machine, they didn't use leaf switches. Atari seemed to have made a lot of changes in the machines in the beginning. What they used was a micro switch like this. But I think the dirt took its toll on the play field because there were quite a few of these micro switches. Even though you can hear it click, it did not make contact anymore. So there were a whole bunch of things on the playfield that didn't work, and it turned out to be that the switches had just gone dead. I mean, I dunked them into alcohol. Some of the switches came back to life, but most of them, even when they came back to life on the bench, they were intermittent after that. So I had to find replacement switches, and I probably replaced about half of the micro switches on this. The worst part were the pop bumpers, which is, you can see that yellow coil over there, because they got a micro switch mounted that basically detects when the ring around the pop bumper is hit by a ball like this, And what happens is there's a ring around here that the coil pulls down when it detects that the ball has hit that apron, and that kicks the ball away. And those, I put new switches in, but it still needed a lot of adjustment to work right. Same thing on the second one. And that took quite a while to get everything working smoothly on this. Other than that, there was some work required on the CPU board. Some of the drivers for the solenoids didn't work. But those are usually pretty easy to find, because in most cases when they go bad they short. And the symptom is you turn the machine on and one or more of the solenoids pull in, and you start smelling burnt copper wire. But those are really easy to find and replace. And other than that, the board didn't need a whole lot of work. Notice that the board, this one, has the resistor we discussed last time still in there. I decided to leave it in because after all, these machines ran for so many years with them. Even though this one's beginning to look a little bit, either something dripped on it or it's getting discolored real badly, but it's still good. I measured it out of circuit and it was still showing 4 ohms. So let's not mess with the design. That works. The auxiliary driver also has the audio amp on it, which was really noisy. I changed some of the caps, and that didn't make a difference. So I replaced the actual amp, which is an LM380, and it quieted down. Now, somebody remarked that you can hear some high-pitched noise coming from this. And what that high-pitched noise is, it's switching noise from the bulbs. Because the bulbs are scanned, they're rapidly being turned on and off. And this is a common malady on pinball machines. It's just there. That's why when you put the playfield down and you put a glass on top of it, you can't hear it that loud anymore. But it is what it is. There's not much to be done about that. Also, the transformer on this one has a buzz to it. I mean, I disconnected the speaker and I can hear the transformer buzz. Again, not much I can do about it. It's not that annoying, but it's there. And other than that, the game came back to life. The display also needed a bit of work. I mean, this machine was missing the display. I got a used one, untested, and I got it to come up, but there were lots of segments missing on it. And here's another display to show you what it looks like. This is the kind that has individual transistors driving each segment. And basically the transistors drive, the anodes run at 90 volts and the cathodes at minus 90 volts. So there's quite a bit of voltage in there. I went in there and traced out what segments were driven by what transistors and started happily replacing transistors, and it made no difference. So after a long back and forth, I finally found that the display glass, this thing here, basically slides into this connector. So it's got all of these edge fingers that go into this connector. And I guess it turns out that the plus minus 90 volts that is present on most of these pins was just too much. And it corroded the pins or carbonized them pretty badly. So after cleaning up those pins, I got the display to reappear with all segments. You only see player 1 right now, but of course, when you have all players on there, it came back to work. So it wasn't even an electrical problem, it was a mechanical problem on that display. And I had to do like 3 cleaning passes on that edge connector to get the lights to come back. These things are total, well, obviously not total non-obtainium, but the only way you can get them is if somebody's parting out a machine. There's no NOS ones left. The tube is custom made. Well, the glass tube is custom made. These 2-digit displays you may be able to get, but this, and also it says player 1, 2, 3, 4 over here that, you know, it'll show during gameplay who's up. And so, but fortunately they're repairable. There's not, these don't seem, none of the ones that I have seem to be suffering from outgassing problems where where some segments get weak. But I do have some where some of the segments have burn marks on them. And, you know, there's dark spots in the middle of a segment. Again, not much I can do about that. It's just a matter for me to be on the lookout until the next Atari machine gets parted out. And maybe I'm going to have to collect spare displays for these. Now you may question the build quality or the parts quality of these machines, but let's be honest about this. These machines were built to be disposable. The idea was the operator buys one of these things, operates it, makes some money on him, and then dumps him into the trash and buys a new one. And that was the whole idea. This machine's is over 40 years old, and you can probably say it's a bloody miracle that it came back to life with relatively little work. So it's expected for these things to fail, and they will require a lot of maintenance to keep running, but that's okay with me. This particular machine has a coin counter in it that was showing approximately 31,700 games played, and keeping in mind that you have, you know, in the mid-70s, pinball games cost 25 cents. So you divide that number by 4, you come out with a little bit less of $8,000. I mean, 31,700 quarters, which is about $8,000. I think these machines cost about $1,200 when they were new. If you were able to quintuple your money on one of these machines in whatever time you had, I think that was a really profitable thing to do. And I think that's why most people didn't hesitate, that once they made their money, they carted them off to the landfill and went out and bought a new one. And just like last time, Middle-earth number 2, its twin brother, is also ready to go. This one's probably a little better, was in a little better shape and took a little bit less work to get up and running. The cabinet on this one has quite a few dings on it, which the camera conveniently hides. But yeah, they're both up and running. So let's see if I can impress you with my pinball skills now. All right, here we go. I guess this rollover didn't register, so gotta make a list of final cleanup. Also, the machine is not level. It's leaning slightly to the right. So the ball keeps going this way. But that's easy to fix. You just adjust the leg levelers. Yeah, so that random noise is the, it basically flashes a number on this display in random, and if this matches the last two digits in your score, you get a free game, which I didn't get. Come on, I can beat this score. What do you think? All right, can I beat 28,530? Okay, last chance. Did you see that? I hit one of the drop targets and the other one went down too. I'll take it. But I need to look at that, and no, I did not. Okay, let's see how its twin brother plays. The playfields are so damn big, I can't, get them all into the viewfinder. I guess I have to hang a camera above and get a real wide-angle lens to show this properly, but bear with me, this is what we got for now. Okay. Plays pretty identical to the other one. Drain's pretty identical to the other one too. Okay, only 24,000, but I matched. Match says 10. Last two of my scores say 10. And I got a free game. Ha. But fair is fair. We'll give it another try. And by the way, the playfield on this is, the backlash is identical on this one. Not a blemish on it. Of course, this one doesn't have the dimmer on it, so we're getting a little more stuff reflecting off the playfield glass, but other than that, it's pretty much the same. Okay, Championship of the Universe against myself. No comments. Well, 11,800, I matched again with zeros. So I got a free game, so I got to play my free game, right? Almost. Range shot. Oh, come on. So how am I doing? 32,000 so far. My honor is restored. That was user error. But still, I did much better. 66,240. Okay, here we are. I got most of my ducks in a row. 66.6% of the Instant Atari collection playable. I'm keeping a list on them of little things like the rollover that wasn't working and stuff like that, but that is relatively minor compared to the big picture. We got 4 machines ready to play. Now on the second machine, I didn't talk about what repairs it needed, and the reason I didn't was the repairs were very similar to the other Middle-earth. It also used micro switches, but I guess it wasn't exposed to as much dirt, so most of the micro switches in it were good. And so the repairs were of the same type, but much less than they were. Actually, I'm looking at the wrong one. This is number 2, which did have the more repairs because of the dirt. And this is number 1, which had similar repairs, but a lot less of them. One thing that really bugs me is I can't line up the machine real nicely because they got all different sets of legs on them. Heights differ and angle of the legs differ, and so it's really hard to line up everything. But I guess I'll be on the hunt for legs. I won't even be looking for exact Atari legs, just sets of legs that are all the same height, so I can line up the machines properly. Alright, we got 2 machines remaining to be brought up to speed. Thanks for watching. Hope you had a good time. Make sure to subscribe. Thumbs up would be appreciated. And leave me a comment. See you next time.